Ann Brewster never wore her feelings on her sleeves. Although she was a force in the civil rights movement, something made her so upset one day, choir members remember when she stormed in.
She came through that door, like this side door here, and I was sitting there, but when she came in the door, she was talking, but I could tell, that something, she was upset. I can't tell you what she was upset about, but she was very upset.
We had just lost our beloved President John F. Kennedy to assassinate bullet. Lyndon Johnson had become president, and matter of fact, Lyndon was from Texas, a Southerner. We didn't know what to expect, but when in his first speech to Congress, he asked the Congress to pass the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the bill, and in John F. Kennedy's memory. And we knew there was going to be a lot of resistance. When she came to the house, as parents did back in those days, it's grown folks conversation, you got to leave the room. But what I did, I sat behind the kitchen door, and you could hear and kind of see through the crack of what's going on. And basically the conversation was, well, Reverend, I'm just tired. People look like they're not catching on. And then she was saying, and of course the death threats, and of course other things of concern. My daddy said, well, you just be calm, it's gonna be all right. Johnson's gonna get the bill passed. So she was a little, obviously, I guess you said drained or tired, depressed, but not suicidal.
She did have a difficult relationship going on at the time, but it had sort of gone off, and we thought she was out of that relationship. But I think that some people feel that she might have killed herself and over the relationship that she had and that she was feeling so poorly about.
But I do remember my father got the phone call. A call came. He said they found Ann Brewster dead. So Dad, of course, being a pastor, got dressed. And my brother John drove him over here. And of course, they couldn't get on Templeman, so my brother had to park the car and Daddy walked. And so they didn't want to let Dad in at first until he was identified as a pastor.
The first person who called me that day was Bernice Smith. Bernice had called me to tell me that Ann had not come in to work. And they were very concerned because they kept calling the house and not getting an answer. And that kept going on several times during the day. And no one could get in touch with her. And so that evening when my husband got off from work, he said, let's go around to the house. And when we turned the corner, I knew it was bad.
Oh, it was terrible. It was so terrible. Everybody was upset.
When we turned the corner, we saw police stations, police cars, and etc., and a number of cars lined up. And so we knew it was something. When we got to her house, the choir from her church, Little Union, had already, a number of the choir people were there when we got to the house, but she was dead in the room at that time.
I went to the house, but I didn't go in. I just kind of went around and didn't go in because it was just, like a chaos there.
I sat in the house. I was sitting in the house when they took her body out. When they took her out of the room, I was seated in the living room, along with several members of the choir.
So when he went in, it was a mess. Blood, brain matter, scattered in the walls.
As I told you before, my mother was a beautician. Women do not do that. They will poison themselves. They just don't want to do it.
When Dr. King spoke in New Orleans and Mamie Love and Bernice Smith invited him to Shreveport, where he spoke at Old Galilee under the pastor of Reverend Stewart, He told them at the Beauticians Convention, you all are independent, you're self-employed, so you're not pressured by the white power structure to depend on them for your income. So y'all can do a lot. So they more or less began a modern beauty shop to teach people how to register to vote, and that was a grapevine.
They was the operators of that modern beauty shop.
Not only for Shreveport, but they had customers would come as far as Ruston and get information and take it back. So they had a network.
Ann Brewster was many things. She was most well known as one of the beauticians at the Modern Beauty Shop on Milam with Mamie Love Wallace and Bernie Smith. And she was also a civil rights activist who was very plugged in to the movement, more so than most people in Shreveport.
Those young ladies were very deep in the movement. I'm telling you, they would march, demonstrate with their signs and everything.
But within the civil rights movement, Ann Brewster and the ladies who worked there were able to pass on information about who's coming to town. Here's where they're going to be. You show up here. Now the reason for that is that the police had wiretapped almost every significant figure, local figure in the civil rights movement, the men and their homes. But they didn't have enough people to follow their wives.
Dr. Mary Louise Wilson, for example, would come and get her hair done. And so she would take back information and instruction on how do you pass the literacy test, which you've seen in my book.
So ladies having a standing appointment every Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock or whatever, then they would find out what they needed to tell their husbands. And it was word of mouth, so that there was, the beauty shop was not bugged.
She was consumed by that passion for equality. She went to jail a couple of times, and that was her passion. You know, I think it was her call also.
And that was like the headquarters there, Yeah.
A lot of strategy, a lot of networking, what's really going on. And it's a good place to get information. I'm gonna get all the stuff from sports to church to Shreveport, having Shreveport, and so forth.
It was so much happening, and this had not been long after the little union incident and all. And Ann was known in the community by all of the officers and everybody that she was very much involved in the civil rights movement.
It's been 60 years since Ann Brewster died, but her memory still lives on. And that's why people who knew her want officials to take another look. Do you think that the case needs to be reopened?
Hell yes. Hell yes. Unequivocally. It was funny because when Dr. Cash referenced it, I don't know if we had been in conversation or not, but this was one of the agenda items that I had. And definitely, I win City Council in 2026. This is a cold case that definitely needs to be reopened, just like the Medgar Evers murder case. Of course, those individuals have long since died. And of course, George Dartars had already hired somebody to murder a journalist. And so we know that this is the aptitude of this individual.
And I think others would like to know as well, So I think it does need to be reopened.
It would be a cold case, and so we would have to have an investigatory agency, primarily the Shreveport Police Department, look at it again and reach out, and then we will assist them and whatever we need to do.
I think we've got enough information with what I've pulled up and worked on, and other people, that we could make a strong case. I think at the end of the day it'll be, we're really not sure, but it looks like it.
And it's going to be very difficult because we've got to look at what the coroner then, what he said, whether it's right or wrong. It's hard to go back now and find somebody else to say that decision is wrong. You know, time hurts the investigation, but we would be willing to look at it.
I mean, to me, it's a coin toss whether or not she committed suicide or was murdered.
Her legacy deserves that. Just like Medgar Evers' legacy deserved that.
This is what I have at my house on my wall, in my living room. You walk in my house, you see this on my wall. I took it off my wall to bring it to show it to you. And I'm still going to mention to them that let's try to get together and go out there and put some flowers on her grave. I think that's a good idea to me. This month. I want to go this month.
Why?
Because this is the month of her death.
No, don't forget about me. No. Take my hand, we'll lift each other higher. Tried and true, we've been through the fire. Oh, don't forget about me. No, don't forget about me.
I had a chance to speak with a family member of Ann Brewster, and even after 60 years, they still fear retaliation. And that statement, they told me, we care and appreciate the outpouring of celebration of her life and death. We would be grateful to any person who may have any information in presenting the facts surrounding her death.
Remember my name. Write it in the sky, know the world will never be the same. Stepping into my power across the sands of time. In my darkest hour, elevate my mind.